This program features live coverage of an African safari and may include animal kills and carcasses. Viewer discretion is advised.
Good morning and welcome to dawn here on the western fringes of the Greater Limpopo Transfrontier Park. It has just become light. My name is James Henry, on camera is David, and we've got a lovely set of impala over there, and what they're doing is looking nervous because perhaps they have seen or smelt a male leopard coming past here. There are tracks of a male leopard walking down the road here, and so that's what we're following at the moment. Please talk to us using the hash. No. Please talk to us using the email address kidsquestions@wildearth.tv. First 45 minutes dedicated to kids questions, so if you're between 0 and 18, please feel free to send us an email. Questions about conservation, the animals we're seeing, Africa, anything biological, we'll happily answer for you if we can. Right, let's carry on going here. Often we look at impala and we say to ourselves, you know, they don't look very easy. They look like they're a bit tense. So we pick things up from their body language, but sometimes I think we make mistakes because it's difficult to read their facial expressions. Now the male leopard walked down here, and I suspect quite strongly he wandered down into this gully and then probably carried on his hunting activities up to the west, but maybe he walked along the road here, which would be nice. You see already his tracks are not here anymore. Still, we'll carry on here, see if we don't get lucky. Trishala, who's also driving this morning, went around that way, and she might pick the tracks up where she is.
Hello everyone, good morning, welcome aboard. It's so nice to have you. My name is Trishala with Owen on camera this morning, and James is absolutely correct. He has those tracks and they seem to be heading in this direction that I am looking in. So I'm keeping a keen eye out for two tiny little lights. They're actually the shine from the eyes of the animal. That's why I've got my spotlight out, even though it's not very, very dark. But the spotlight can catch the reflection in the eyes of an animal, and it looks like two little lights pointing me to where the leopard may be. I'm also going to keep my head down and keep an eye out for tracks. Let's see here. Good morning everyone. I don't see any tracks here yet. Now, if those impala that James had were looking nervous, then that's a great clue, isn't it, kiddies? We talked about how we can have lots of clues out in the bush. The tracks and the impala are great clues. It's quite misty this morning, and I like that very much. I do. Now, on this side of the world, I'm in the west. Ooh, seems I have some leopard tracks. I'm just going to jump off for a moment. See if I can show them to you. They're not terribly fresh. All right, let's see. Let's just put this radio back. Oh no. I'm going to try and find them for you, but the light is very low. I know. They're very old. Okay, when I find some really nice fresh ones, I'll call you straight back, and I'll send you over to Sean at andBeyond's Ngala in the meantime to say good morning.
Good morning, everybody. Special welcome to the kids again. Here, andBeyond Ngala with myself, Sean. We got myself behind the camera still. A very cold, somewhat misty morning. You can not really see up ahead there, but I'm telling you, it is misty. I think it's about 18 degrees, 62, 64 Fahrenheit. So a bit fresh. I have the heater on. But a good morning. A good morning. It's good to know James and Trishala both found leopard tracks. It's a great start. We were also going to look for leopards. Was our plan here. You see the big tree up ahead. We were going to turn down into the river. So yesterday while tracking we saw one leopard very, very briefly. It went across the road. So we were going to have a look, see if we could find anything fresh. So we'll stick to that plan. Have a look in the river, see what we can find. But then maybe diversify a bit, head out, see if we can find some elephants, some giraffes, maybe a herd of buffaloes if the other two are looking for leopards. You know, let's find a variety. All different animals. So we saw the leopard further up that road, but it was running this way. Well, it ran across the road this way. So making our job both easier and a bit harder. The sand, you can obviously see tracks in the sand because it's soft. But then it does become a little bit harder to identify the tracks because they don't keep a shape. Now I know Trishala was showing you a picture of the leopard track. You know, but in the sand, they often sink and then they sort of spread out a bit and the tracks look a bit bigger or not as clear. So you can see, even on the camera, I mean, you can see all of these little holes. Those are all tracks. And bigger ones like elephants, hippos, buffaloes, giraffe, you can tell quite easily. But when it gets the little ones, between a lion, a leopard, a hyena, wild dog, they all mix. First question of the morning from Singapore, from Charge and Jasmine, wanting to know how we know a track is fresh. So the main thing now in the mornings is to look. You can see the road up ahead there. So like that little stretch, you can see the two track is what I call it, but that road. So we drove here last night. So I know that if there are any tracks on this road, then we know that since I drove here last. So then we know, okay, those are fresh within the last sort of 8 hours. If they're off this track and they're on the sides of the road, then it becomes, you look at how clear it is, which is why I said it's hard in the sand, and you look at what tracks are around it. So let's say we see the leopard track. Now we know leopards are nocturnal. And then there's a track of a bird or a track of a impala on top of the leopard. Generally, the birds only move around it in the day. So if I see the leopard track now and I see a bird on top of it, then I can say, okay, this track was probably from 2 nights ago. And yesterday, the bird walked on top of the track. Or maybe we see tracks of a buffalo, which are also generally daytime animals. That's when they move. And then there's a leopard track on top of that. And you can say, okay, a buffalo walked here, and afterwards, a leopard walked here. So then you're like, okay, so the leopard walks around at night, so most likely from last night. So you look at what other tracks are surrounding the one you're looking at. Are there any insects, bugs, birds? And then you can determine exactly how fresh that track is. Well, not exactly. You give it a, this morning or last night. And that is how I tell. But while we carry on here looking for tracks, we'll see if James has any more track information for you as well.
So we've left those leopard tracks because they went exactly where I thought they had. They'd gone through the drainage line, I think early last night. And Trishala's on them now, so we'll leave her to try and track that male leopard. If he was on a territorial patrol, chances are he's gone quite far, but maybe he'll pop up next to the road, which would be great. But Trish is on those tracks now. We're going to head down towards the south. Apparently there were lions calling there sometime yesterday evening, but probably even further to the south than we are, or than we can go. So we'll just head down that way. We might pop in, I think, quickly at the hyena den on our way and just see if the little cubs aren't out. Tim and Nick You want to know about tracks and how we know what we're looking at? Well, it's just like a shape, really. And I suppose what you should do, if you really want to know about tracking, is the next time you're at the beach, which hopefully will not be too long from now, because obviously we're in lockdown, so it might be a little while. Just walk along the beach and you'll see human footprints, right? And you'll see dog footprints, no doubt. And if you look very carefully, you might see a few bird footprints, and you can see the differences in what you're looking at from the shape, right? A bird doesn't look like a human, which doesn't look like a dog. What we've got there is a hyena track. Now that might look like a dog track to you, or a cat track, but once you've looked at them a few times, you'll be able to see quite clearly that this is a hyena. And in this particular case, it's a nice hyena track, it's a nice easy one. You can see that the toes are shaped like kidneys. Now, I'm not sure if that'll help you, but a kidney is sort of basically that shape, if you like. But you can also look at the back pad, which is here, and that's got 2 lobes, whereas a cat would have 3. And so basically all it is having the experience to look at the tracks and seeing what the shape is. Now, what's quite interesting here is that people often ask, how do you know if a track is fresh or not? Now, in the evening, dew comes down, falls on the ground, and that dew leaves a very thin layer of moisture on the ground, and it normally happens quite late at night. Now, what you can see here is a male leopard track. That male leopard track is right next to this hyena track, and now we ask ourselves, which one is fresher? And if we look carefully over here, we can see that the indent, the shape of the hyena track, is much clearer than the shape of the male leopard track. And what's happened is that this male leopard has probably walked up this road before the dew came down, and the hyena came down this road much later, and he stepped on the road when it was still a little bit wet. And because it's a little bit wet, it's held the integrity of his track more clearly. You don't often get nice examples like this. Normally it's quite difficult to tell the age, but I think that's what's happened here. So I would say that the hyena track was substantially fresher than the leopard track, and I'm just looking over here, and you won't be able to see this, but I can see that a hyena track is actually stepped on top of the leopard track as it's carried on down the road. So that's quite interesting. You don't often get a nice example like that of 2 tracks right next to each other. We'll just see if we can't show you a double confirmation with a hyena track right on top of the leopard track. Just going to quickly look down here because it would be quite fun to see that. No. Whoa, there's a big hole here that I'm now probably going to get stuck in. Maybe we'll just go through it. Yeah, so we'll just go through it. There we go, we survived. Chase, in Hong Kong, you'll find that leopards are actually not strictly nocturnal. You'll read that they are nocturnal. But strictly speaking, you'll find that leopards will operate most of the time. Whenever they feel like it, they get up. And so they will sleep any time, really. Lions will sleep during the day, from as soon as it gets vaguely warm until nighttime. Still looking if I can see a really nice example of the hyena track on top of the leopard track, but I can't right now. Isn't that interesting? One last look over here, and then we'll go quite quickly towards the hyena den and see if there are some hyenas there. Almost, yes, there's one. I'm afraid I didn't get that, Kirsten. Oh, yes, absolutely, Jesse. Animals can certainly track humans. They use dogs quite a lot to track human beings, especially in anti-poaching. So, yes, they can. They don't do it by the footprints, though, Jesse. They do it by looking at, or by smell. So they don't watch the footprints. So what we have here, where's the example that I found? I know I can't see it anymore. It's quite tricky at this angle. I had a lovely example of it. No, it's gone. Anyway, I did see an example. I can't see it from this angle. Of the male leopard underneath the hyena track. But I cannot see it anymore. Oh. Can you see here, Dave? Okay, so there's the male leopard, and there's the hyena, and you can see that the hyena track is pushed onto the male leopard track there. And in fact, that was when the hyena was going the other way. So that was even before the hyena came down the road. Okay, there it is. So dogs can definitely track human beings. And they can track many other things. Hyenas can track many things too. But it's not tracking like we track. We don't have a good sense of smell. And so we have to use our eyes to track. And they use a much more efficient system of smelling what's going on. Let's go across to Trish. We'll go to the hyena den.
Oh, hyena den. I've been seeing lots of tracks for hyenas, but the one that you're seeing right now is a leopard track. And I think that this belongs to one of the leopards in the west. His name is Hukumuri. And Hukumuri really likes this junction where the roads meet. In fact, if I sniff, I can smell popcorn. Why would I smell popcorn? That's because leopards, when they scent mark, they have to use their urine to scent. I hear alarm calls. They use their scent mark to their urine to scent mark, and it smells like popcorn. And this is a spot Hukumuri really likes to scent mark. In fact, that tree right there. Now I hear some alarm calls behind me, so I have got to move quickly. Obviously, that's a bit different to what the tracks are saying to me. But remember, alarm calls, that's when an animal says, no, I see a leopard, or I see a lion, I see something else that I don't like. When an animal does that, that's happening right now. These tracks, we could be behind that animal minutes or hours. So when you hear an alarm call, we have to react quickly. Now, the only problem with alarm calls at this point is that lots and lots of impala are simply shouting at each other because they're feeling a little bit territorial, they're feeling a little bit fighty. But we're gonna go check it out anyway because we have leopard tracks. That's a good indication. There's our clue. We had nervous impala with James, and now we have some that are shouting angrily. So I'm going to stop here, and we're going to just listen again while I show you the very beautiful sun. Let's get you again. Can you hear that? That, unfortunately, tells us that those are impala that are just playing around and fighting with each other, and it's not an alarm call. You could hear them, they almost sound like they're burping. Okay, so we're going to go back and follow those tracks, so let me send you to the hyena den with James. Hopefully those cubs will be out.
Well, she's just about to call them, I think.
do come out, we're here at the right time. There are 2 hyenas here. One of them is off towards the left-hand side of the picture, but let's just wait and see what happens here. This tiresome process of her blocking up the den entrance. Eventually those cubs are going to get as sick and tired of it as we are, and they're going to come out and play on top of her. There's the other hyena. If you are a new viewer, we come here every single day. We've had probably 2 good views of the hyena cubs. 2 little ones here, must be almost 4 weeks old now, and we are waiting for the day that they emerge properly and just start playing outside. Because every single day their mother goes into the den like this, and this is how she feeds them. And I've never seen a situation like this before. Right, I'm going to sit here for 5 minutes and then I'm going to move on. Sean has got a beautiful sunrise for you up at Ngala, so let's go and have a look there.
So we have not managed to find an animal, but we have managed to find this beautiful, beautiful African sunrise. I think what we're going to do is just take a moment to listen to all the birds. There's some hornbills calling, some impalas in front of us. And take a moment of silence and just watch and listen. So I was hoping for some lions to call. Wow. Okay, but sun's gonna keep coming up, but it sounds like they got some action happening at Djuma, so we're gonna send you back across there.
There's the cub, there we go. Look at that magical sight of a little baby hyena. Oh, hello. To say hello as well. Now that's good news because it's daytime, which means as it brightens she might come out a bit more. There we go, the little thing's still there. Ribbon's looking at another hyena, just come to say hello, desperate as we are to meet the new youngsters. Ribbon is just warning that one, I think, not to come too close. She's very protective over these little ones. And I think one of the main reasons she's so protective is that I don't believe that her... I'm not sure, there are definitely 2 of them. I don't believe that her status as matriarch is necessarily that established. And so I think she's quite nervous to have other hyenas around her baby. let that not be the only view we get of them. There we go. Come on. How'd you come? As I was saying, I've never been at a hyena den with cubs this old where they don't at least come out briefly and play a little bit. But they should be so cosseted up inside what must be a deeply evil-smelling part of the world is astounding. Clementine, they drink the milk for a long time compared with other carnivores. It apparently sometimes is up to a year. That's unusual though, and it's most likely around 6 months, so half a year. That's at least twice as long as some of the other carnivores. That's it, little one. Stick your head up. The more time you spend around us, the more used to us you'll get. I don't know, maybe Kirsten just wondering if this den isn't so steep that they can't get out. It's just too difficult for them. Here we are. Hi, little one. Hyena definitely smells a bit like wet dog, the other one that she's looking at. Millie, these hyenas probably currently weigh around about, say, maybe 1 kilogram to 2 kilograms, so two and a bit pounds, and up to 4 pounds maybe. I'm not sure at this stage. I haven't had a good enough look at them yet. Maybe if we're very patient, they'll pop out. I suppose it is a very steep den, so maybe the others where I've seen them out playing earlier, you know, as soon as they put their heads out of the den, they're immediately out and in the open. Whereas this one, they don't have to be. Adam, in Hilton, in KwaZulu-Natal, hyenas can normally only have 2 babies. Sometimes 3, but normally only 2, and sometimes only 1. Rachel, you're also in Hilton, I suspect quite strongly, living with a 9-year-old. You want to know if hyenas are territorial? Definitely they are. They're territorial in clans. And so Ribbon is the matriarch of the Djuma clan, and that clan has a territory that encompasses this reserve that we're on now, which is called Djuma.
Try and be patient. It's very tempting to go over there and stick my head down and have a look, you know. Obviously the cubs would disappear immediately. Ruben would get upset. Maybe I should try and sneak up the other side of the termite mound without being detected. Shenny, that's a really good question. All the way from Singapore. Shenny, the reason is that when the cub is dark colored like that, it's much easier for it to hide inside that dark place that is the den. So if it was the color of mum, the chances are it would be easier to see if a predator came by and tried to find it, smelt that there were hyena cubs in the area. And so by being that dark color, it means they disappear as soon as they are inside the den. And then when they start to spend more and more time outside of the den, you'll see they start to develop spots. And with any luck, if she doesn't move the den and if everything's okay out here, and there are no predators come by, we'll watch their colors change as they get a bit older. But for now, they remain plain black. Although these guys could be luminous pink, you still wouldn't be seeing them. They're so well hidden. Alright, I'll spend a few more minutes here. Let's go back to Trishala, who's got a whoop whoop.
I do, I have a hoop hoop. It's an African hoopoo. Aren't they just gorgeous? Look at that long beak. What does it remind you of? It reminds me of a set of tweezers. Aren't tweezers really good to pick things, little things up with? And then you don't have to get them... you don't have to get insects, stings, and any other crawly, creepy bits that you don't like. It doesn't have to touch your face. It's like having a pair of tweezers as a mouth. And that's exactly what this hoopoo uses it for. To get into all the little places to pull out some lovely insects. And that means that it doesn't have to get close to the face. None of the insects have to get close to the face and maybe sting it or hurt it in any way. Or sometimes it could just be uncomfortable. And also it allows them to get nice and deep through the grass like it's showing us. Dig in the grass for us again. Looks a bit frantic. It's doing last-minute shopping, I think. Kim, you say OMG, one of your favorite birds of Africa. Well, I think, Kim, that this bird thanks you very much. I think it's beautiful. Really, really, really pretty bird. Yes, you. Look at that, Kim. It enjoyed your comment. Oh, yes. So it's using its beak to loosen up some of the soil. And it's dust bathing. So it's getting some dust in between the feathers. And that can help with little parasites and things like that. Anything that bothers it, makes it itch. Get some of that dust in between and then shake it off or rub it off. It really helps. And now we're on the other side of the road, checking out that bush. Nope, insects not as good there. Birds seem to love this road. Insectivore birds. Insectivores are animals that eat insects. And they really like this road. Very cute. Okay, well, I'm still on the trail of those leopard tracks. I'm going to keep following up, but I'll send you over to James at the hyena den, who's got a new visitor.
This is a new visitor. This isn't the same hyena that was visiting earlier.
don't know who this is. Something of a miner. Very confident. I would say more dominant than the last member that was visiting here. Could be Tsaka, but not sure. It's the baby. The baby's out again. And back in again. Oh, Ribbon, come on. Let us see. Please let us see. We want a proper view. We're getting sick and tired of these half views of a couple of eyes and ears. I tell you what, a lot of people, wildlife filmmaking, for example, is a lot of people's dream jobs. So that hyena digging there was Comet, according to one of our hyena experts, Chris Rogue. Thank you for that, Chris. She's calling. He's calling.
There's two there.
Two there. Ooh. Bit of a dispute going on. We can't see it. It's behind us. I don't think it's going to do the cause of our cub viewing any good. Here comes Comet again. He must be quite a senior member. Smelling all the anal pasting. He's probably going to anal paste himself now. Yep. What is this digging thing that you're doing, boy? Amazing sound. Now you see he's walking around with great confidence, tail up, digging, pasting, very different body language from the one that was here before.
Got the cub.
The cub. Oh, there's the little one. All these fleeting views. This cute little thing. It's too cute for words. I don't know what this means, and I mean, oh, here we are. Closer Comet comes. Less the baby seems to want to stick its head out. tasting again. This is all territorial behavior. Many of you saying that hurt your ears because it was so loud. It was pretty loud. It's pretty loud here too. The third hyena now coming behind us, and I think it's the same one that was here earlier. Got interesting interaction behind us. I'll keep an eye on the cub. Though if you think you can get them. That looks like a young female to me, from the shape of the glands. For those of you who are seeing this for the first time, you'll be astonished to know that with that anatomy could be a female, and in fact is a female. Yeah, get the cubs out again. No, that's a ribbon knee, I think. So what's going on here, everyone, is, from my interpretation, is that we have a high-ranking male member that's just arrived. That's Comet. He's marking territory around here. I think he's establishing dominance. Well, interestingly, I mean, that's a younger female. The smaller one is a younger female. He, in theory, wouldn't necessarily be dominant over her, even if he was the ranking male member, because most females will outrank most males. So, but what is interesting, he's right out now. What is interesting keep getting distracted now. So what's interesting is that the little one, the smaller female that came in here, had a very different body language from the one that Comet exhibited. And that what we were looking at there was a greeting ceremony, but I didn't see any obvious dominance behavior from one to the other. Sorry, the radio. Naturally. Always at the moment critique. If anyone would like to try and identify that second hyena, the first one with the mud on its backside, the female, that would be great. Sorry, I'm getting confused. I'm getting completely confused. It's the males that have that very obvious glands. Small brain is not operating correctly. In other words, that little one's then a male. And Comet was being slightly dominant over him, but didn't bully him at all. Just quickly check my small brain is unable to fully remember any. No, I don't think that Comet has any problem with us being around the den. About that. Comet, as a male member of the clan, really wouldn't be. Well, I mean, he's defending the den by marking it like that, but I don't think it's got anything to do with us at all.
comes another one now. Alright, to those of you who have just joined us, welcome. To those of you who are adults and are watching us, hello. You may now ask us questions using the hashtag WildEarth or the chat stream on YouTube or Twitch. Beautiful morning we're having here. You can hear a chagra in the background. There you're sixth in Hilton and wondering why it is that hyenas sound like cows. They don't when you're sitting next to them. A cow's got a much deeper voice than a hyena, but I know what you mean. And the reason they call like that is that the sound travels very far, and it helps them to establish their territory and helps all the other members of the clan to understand where everyone else is. Now, I got that all wrong. So what I think we had there was two comets, a male and then another male. And so this comet's back again, he's come around the side. So I think Comet definitely a higher ranking male than the other one. He didn't bully the other one, but definitely the other one is submissive to him. And I don't think anyone's introduced or anyone's managed to identify the other hyena here. He is now. And Comet's coming up now from the left, from the right, sorry. See how Comet's tail is up, the other one's is down. I'm assuming that's the same hyena. There's another one now. And as soon as Ribbon sat up, they became a lot less confident. So I think that the calling that a comet did has attracted the attentions of another hyena. Here we go, look, watch here. So that one is very clearly subordinate to Comet. Both of them. Did you see that there? So two of them, now the disciplinarian is going to go and establish herself. Here we go. I don't know who's been chasing who there. So Chris Rogue saying there that Fika was the smaller male. Thank you for that, Chris Rogue. Don't want to move because moving the car might upset things. So I think Ribbon will come back here. Here she comes. So she chased off one of them. I don't know which one of the three she chased off. So we've got Ribbon, Comet and Fika. Comet and Fika, both males. Comet obviously dominant over Fika. Ribbon the most dominant. She is the matriarch. And as soon as she stuck her head out and ran down off the mound, the rest of them scuppered. This is when hyena dens get so fascinating, because you can watch the clan hierarchy playing out. You can watch the complicated social interactions and the amazing kind of interpretations of their body language, how they operate with each other. She's looking up because I've seen one scampering through the grass. Just a quick flash through the grass on the left. There they come. Yeah. So the third one to arrive, the fourth one to arrive, is now being harassed by Comet and Fika, I think. Certainly by Comet. Now Ribbon is watching carefully. Yeah, here comes Comet again. Comet seems to have a pretty distinctive look about him. He's lean, muscled, got quite pointy ears. And I don't know what that digging is unless he's got glands between, quite possibly got glands between the pads in his feet. And so what he'd be doing there is marking territorially. Now, interestingly, you'd expect if Comet was the dominant male in the hyena, he would be the father of these cubs. But quite possibly that is not the case. Quite possibly she mated with a low-ranking male that came in from another clan.
James or Lauren coming?
Just going to try to see if Trish won't get that call. Go ahead.
Morning, James. It's Vernon here. Is there any update on those line tracks from yesterday evening just across the dam?
Sorry, everybody. I'm just going to quickly take this call. No, not that I know of. We haven't gone that far today. Copy that. What's going on? Ribs? So you wouldn't ever expect that she would be intimidated by what went on there, that because there was the fourth one may have been a young female, I'm not sure. The other two males, she'd never be intimidated by a male hyena. And so her ranking in this particular social situation is absolute. It's when large females arrive. Now we have our ex-resident hyena whisperer queen, lover, enjoyer of hyenas, Jamie Patterson, watching. Morning, pajamas.
Hi, Jamie.
I hope you are not in your pajamas, but in fact dressed and ready for work at home, at the old age home where you're living now. And Jamie says she unfortunately jumped on the drive too late, so she didn't see it all. For those of you who don't know, Jamie worked with us for a very long time and spent an enormous period with the North Clan of hyenas in the Masai Mara, and with the help of the Michigan State University unraveled the very complicated clan dynamics there. Much, much more complicated than here at Djuma, because here there are probably 15 members to this clan. The North Clan of Hyena of the Mara Triangle, led by Waffles at the time, numbered 70 strong. And for those of you wondering where Jamie is, Jamie is in Johannesburg, living in a retirement village, not because she's retired, but because of lockdown and various other things. And I'd like you all to encourage her to write a book about her experiences there. They sound absolutely hilarious. So there's still a bit of mucking about going to the left of your picture. You can still hear Comet digging. I'm pretty sure it's glandular marking. Here he comes again. Now those of you who are good at recognizing people and animals, I think you'll probably find him pretty easy to recognize from now on. I will almost certainly forget as soon as I leave this den that, but he's got pointy ears. He's got a wolfish look to him. And he's lean. Much leaner than you see some of the big females. Carry often quite a lot of weight around the mammary gland area, especially if they are lactating, obviously. But he looks like he's got a body made of barbed wire. You wouldn't want to tangle with him. He's 250 words, Jamie. 119,750 to go. All right, I keep saying I'll just spend a few minutes here and then we'll press on, but we will sit here for a few more minutes while we go back to Trish to find out what's happening her end.
Not much is happening. I have tracks and tracks and tracks, and it's sending me in circles. And I'm quite sure they're for Hukumuri. But I'm really glad that you had some entertainment at the Hyena Den. I'm also glad that Jamie is watching. Hi, Jamie. You can imagine her smiling when as she sees me wave. She'd be so proud of my persistence to tracking an animal that I still have not seen or had an alarm call for. Hyenas have been very busy in this area. So I'm heading back now to quarantine. Hello, Rebecca. You're 10 years old and you're from Australia. You have a very important question. What do we do with all the poo on the road? Well, generally, we leave it be, but occasionally, for example, with elephant poo, you can play games with them. Occasionally. It's because they're kind of like a ball, like a beach ball, so you can play catch. You can play catch with it. Yes, definitely. I think Davy and the other vehicle will recall a day when we played catch with the elephant dung. But that's also because it's super, super dry. It gets very dry. It's quite light, and it's just plant material. Also, other animals need the dung because they need to eat from it. There's lots of insects. You know, in elephant dung, insects live in it. Beetles, they love it. Spiders love it. You get lots of mushrooms growing in them. You can get over 100 different species of seeds in elephant dung. How crazy is that? So it's very important, especially herbivore dung. In fact, I'd probably say only herbivore dung. Very, very important for all the other little creatures around. So we try not to play catch with it too much, because then the other creatures don't get a home. As for the predator scat, we call predator poo scat, that we don't touch. And well, nothing really likes it. Except these little beetles called carcass beetles, they don't mind it. And hyenas don't mind it either. I've seen hyenas actually eat it. I know. But nothing goes to waste in the bush. In fact, you know when you throw something away in your bin or in the rubbish, there's no such thing as throwing it away. It goes somewhere and it's used for something. Anyway, let me send you back over to the activity at the hyena den with James.
Things have calmed down for the moment. I don't think that we're going to have too much more action here. Comet seems to have gone off, as have the other two. So let's wait a few minutes and just see if we don't get lucky with another cub view. I don't think we're going to, though. But it's worth waiting just a little while. What we might do is just reposition slightly so that if a cub does stick its head out, we won't miss it. Because at the moment, Madame is blocking the entrance to the den quite effectively. She's still looking down to where the other three went. Oh, he did, Copper. He did definitely show submission. As soon as she stood up, his tail went down and he started to behave in a much more submissive manner. And then as soon as she got up and went to see what the gefuffel was all about, he scarpered. So he definitely did show submission. You'll notice he didn't walk up to the den site. As soon as she lifted her head, he backed off every time. I'm just going to reposition slightly. I'm going to back up and look behind through another gap because I suspect those cubs have gone back to sleep. But if they haven't, we're not going to see them from here. This might be dreadful from a light point of view. Have you got a view of the entrance? We'll just sit here literally 10 more minutes and then I think we must move on. Apparently, the matriarchy of the clan is established with violence. That is the only way that it is established. Sometimes with heredity, but, well, it's maintained with violence. It's established sometimes with violence, sometimes with heredity. So if you have a matriarch who's dominant and she has daughters and they grow up into strong adults while she's the matriarch, often one of them will take over from her when she dies or when she becomes too decrepit to carry on. But quite often, as has happened here, Ribbon rose from the ranks of, well, I mean, she was very low ranking and she has established herself as the matriarch by bashing away rivals. And so she established herself with violence, as did Waffles of the North Clan. She apparently was also born lowly pauper. She was low-born and rose to the top of the matriarchy. It's why I liken it often to a mafia system, where you turn your back for a minute as the don of a mafia family. Look, I mean, I've never been part of a mafia family, so I'm not sure if this is true, but the idea is that you turn your back for a moment, someone's going to stick a knife in it. And I feel like it's very similar in a hyena clan. And very different from a wild dog pack where the alphas just kind of are, you know, they're established at very young ages, and I don't think they change very often, and very seldom through any kind of violent takeover. I'm sure they do change, there are always exceptions, there are no rules. And also very different from a lion pride, for example, where it's often there's no dominance at all, but if there is a dominant hierarchy, it's based entirely on how big you are. The bigger you are, the more dominant you are. Let's go back to Sean. He is driving around Ngala. I have no doubt he's going to find you a predator of some sort very soon.
I am indeed driving around. We have not had much luck this morning. We had some tracks of the lions from where they were yesterday, but the tracks sort of cut off the road into one of the blocks. So Rowan and Andre are off on foot over there trying to see if they can track down the pride. So we're going to leave that area, head towards the other two guys who are having a look for some leopards around the middle of the reserve. But it sounds like there was some awesome stuff happening across the Djuma with the hyenas. I heard they were calling and things were vibrating. It's very, very cool. Very cool. We haven't had too much noise. Had a couple of southern ground hornbills calling in the background. Anvil. Anvil, that is a good question. So Anvil's 8 and he comes from Michigan. Hello, Anvil. And he wants to know how long it takes to learn how to track animals. Anvil, it takes a very long time. I've been here, as I said, 3 years, and I still can't really do it properly. The trackers that work here, you know, obviously the rangers, my tracker Ernie's been here for what, now it must be 13 years. Some of the guys have been here for 20 years, 25 years. They have been learning how to track. A lot of it is just, it's, you know, you can learn all of the theory, Anvil, but then you got to come out here and you got to practice. And you got to do it, and you got to spend time on the ground following and learning. So it takes, I'd say, to become any sort of decent tracker, Anvil, you're dedicated, probably take you like 3 years. If you're out here often, all the time, like working, following, to be able to track things like the leopards or the lions or even sometimes the elephants and the buffaloes, because they walk far. So to track them, it's hard work. Especially now. You know, you can see in the screen how thick it is, how long the grass is. And now, you're not, when they track in the grass like this, they follow the pushed over grass. It's very hard to see tracks. So you walk from like one sandy spot to another sandy spot to another sandy spot. And then you think of your animal behavior, so you're tracking the leopard, like we're going to do now. So we're like, okay, so here is a female leopard. So she's got a cub, so we've got to take that into account. And we haven't seen her eat in the last 3 days, so now she could be hunting. She might have left her cub somewhere yesterday, and now she's gone back to get her cub. So we think of an area where maybe she's been hiding her cub. And then you start looking in areas according to that. So it gets quite complicated. It's not just looking at tracks on the ground and following those. It's looking at tracks, it's animal behavior, it's your knowledge of the animal's history. Certain animals have certain territories, you're only going to look there. Areas that they might like or frequent, things like that. So like where we're going to drive now is a road that cuts along the river. If you were there or watching maybe 6 days ago, a week ago, we had those leopards with the carcasses. The Tamboidi Tom had one up in a tree, and the Ngala female had one under a bush close to the river. So we're going to drive those roads because those are good areas. It's close to the river, there's big trees, there's vegetation. We know the leopards have territories there. And we'll search accordingly. But in the meantime, we've got some zebras on our right-hand side. If we can find a gap to have a look at them. Let me go a little bit forward for myself. There we go. Oh, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of them. Over here, or so back behind us, behind them, off to the right of the screen, is a water hole. I think they probably came down here, had some water now after they were sleeping for the night. And now they're up and they're walking. Maybe we looked at the sunrise earlier. Probably heading to an area like that because it's nice and open. Look, there's a younger one. A smaller one coming through. There it is. It was still a little bit hairy. And they're moving, but look at the adult in the front. Look how smooth and sort of short their fur looks, the hair looks. We look at the baby, a lot fluffier. Let's see if we can get a spot further up. On the mount. But have a look at their camouflage now. So black and white, yes, but they blend in with this green and brown a lot. Tillman, not really. So Tillman wants to know, have there been more sightings? Because there's fewer people in the park. Tillman, not really. You know, the size of andBeyond and Ngala obviously doesn't change. So we got 14,700 hectares, 36,000 acres. But now you only have 3 cars, or, you know, a lot fewer cars driving around than you normally do. So now it's a lot harder for us to find the animals because we can't search as well. You know, during the normal year, we will have maybe 8 or 10 rangers out on a morning. So you can cover a lot more ground, you can search for a lot more animals. Where now, it's obviously much harder. So the sightings, I would say, have not increased, no. No, they haven't dropped much either. I mean, if you think about it, we've seen pretty awesome stuff. We still get the zebras, the elephants, the herd of buffaloes coming through, but not as regularly. We're still seeing the lions, the leopards. So we're doing well. But I wouldn't say we are doing better. We're seeing a lot of, well, a few changes in animal behaviors, especially at the safari lodge. They're getting a big influx of baboons. Lots of baboons. Down at the tented camp, we're not getting too much animal activity around the lodge itself, but a lot of hyenas. There seem to be, we're seeing a lot more hyena tracks, and big ones. Big hyena tracks. We're talking, they look like lioness tracks. So that's been quite a surprise to me. And we've also, the biggest difference that I have seen, in animals is in the birds, the southern ground hornbills. We used to see maybe 6 or 7 a cycle at 6 weeks. Now we'll see 4 or 5 per game drive. It's crazy. But while we keep searching, the zebras headed off into the bushes. So we're going to keep going for the leopards. In the meantime, we'll send you back towards Trishar.
Shala had some birds, but my birds went away. Don't you worry, I'm going to find you more birds. As for our leopard tracks, they seem to have terminated Viatella access. So I'm going to hang around in that general area. I've just come a little bit more to the central portion of the reserve. And then I'm going to swing around again, because I didn't actually see them exit. So I'm going to have to keep an extra eye out. As for the other animals, they've all decided, of course, to stay away from me this morning. Apart from some doves. The doves have been on the road. Annika, you'd like to know how we track at night. Very badly. And that's how. It's very difficult to track at night. It's very difficult. Obviously, because there's no light to illuminate tracks. And what's also really important is to be able to see a shadow in the tracks. So of course, you can use your spotlight if they're very obvious. But if they're faint tracks or they're tracks that are not super fresh, it can be very difficult. So what we tend to do is we prefer to have our spotlight out. And do you remember when I started the drive, I had my spotlight out and I was looking for the reflective layer in the eyes of animals, and you can just kind of swing it around. You don't have to focus really carefully. You just sort of swing it around and you can see the light catch the eyes of an animal. And when it does that, then you can stop and investigate further. And that's usually how we find animals at night. And of course, listening out to alarm calls, etc. And at night, lions and leopards are active, so they're moving around, so that's always helpful. Lions tend to call in the evenings and leopards tend to soar, so your ears are doing a lot of work once the sun goes down. But that's much more helpful because when you're tracking, like I said before, you are always a couple minutes, if not an hour or more, behind an animal, and when you hear something in real time, it's really easy to pinpoint where it is and then kind of get in that direction. And then, like I said, because they're generally mobile, if you hang around for long enough, you're likely to see them pop out somewhere. It's always really nice when you just start drive, because that's when animals are very active. And then towards the end of drive. Anyway, I'm going to keep on looking. Hopefully I'll be able to find you an animal. Wouldn't that be awesome? I'll send you over to James at the Hyena Den. I think he'll be leaving soon.
Yeah, I think we're going to head out now. Everything's calmed down here. We'll spend one more segment just watching Ribbon sleeping there. Comet is behind a bush. I'm not sure if we can get him, but he's lying behind a bush fast asleep. David, apparently hyenas are entirely immune to rabies. I believe they can carry it, perhaps, but they are entirely immune to it. So they cannot get sick from it. And I think they're one of the very few mammals of which that is true. About it, that is true. And that hyena ain't going nowhere. Neither, yeah, it does happen. Sometimes you'll find dominant hyenas attacking other subdominant clan members' cubs. I don't know how often it results in death. Probably does happen. But it's one of the reasons that until subordinate members of the clan's cubs have established themselves physically, they won't be brought to a central den where, say, the matriarch's cubs are. They need to be able to stand up for themselves and look after themselves. I don't think it happens very often, but I'm sure it does happen every so often. There are lions calling. They've been calling, well, at least 2 or 3 times this morning, but they are a very, very long way south of our boundary. So far south that Ribbon's not even lifting her head like she was last night when we were here. Elliot, you might be interested to know this, but you too eat dead animals. And I don't mean to sound nasty or mean, but you know, if you eat a piece of steak or mince or chicken or fish, whatever it is, you're eating a dead animal. And the reason that some animals eat dead animals, like we do, not all of us do, but most of us, is that it's good food, it's good nutrition. And some animals are designed to eat meat, which is dead animals. And some animals are designed to eat vegetation, which is not animals, and some animals are designed to eat both. And so that's why hyenas particularly will hunt living animals, and they will also eat animals that have died on their own. Say they got sick, or maybe they were killed by something else, then hyenas will take that. But it doesn't really matter to them whether they get fresh meat if they kill the animal themselves, or if they can scavenge, is what they call it, Elliot. So they don't really mind if it's been killed by something else, or if it's died of a disease or something. That doesn't matter to them. And what it means is that there's no waste out here. Just about everything that dies is eaten by something else, and that means that there's no wastage. It's quite complicated to think about. And something that I'm glad as a 5-year-old you're already thinking about, because it'll probably make you very conscious of what you eat. And I think that's important. Right, as soon as the chin spot batis starts to call, I think it's a little bit like an anesthetic or a lullaby to the hyenas. I think they then go to sleep. It's certainly starting to put me to sleep, and so I think we're going to leave the hyena den now and see what else we can find on this reserve over the course of the next hour and a half or so. Yes, we'll go to the grebe's nest, but not right now. We just need to go and look around a little bit more first, and then we will go to the grebe's nest, because surely those grebes must be hatching soon. Let's go back to Ngala now, where Sean is driving about that magnificent reserve. I don't know where he's off to.
Seems like this morning is going to be filled with lots of driving for us here. So this is the tree on our left here where we had the Tambori Tom and his carcass. If you all recognize the tree, he provided a lovely sighting for us. So we're just coming back past here. Very unlikely he was going to be in the tree, but you know, we do know that he is in this area. Well, this is part of his territory at least. Ah, James Richard asking for an update on Tambori Tom. James, I haven't seen him since that carcass. Since we had him in the tree there, we haven't seen him again. His tracks that we did see were heading back east. So he's probably patrolling the rest of his territory, maybe the eastern parts of Ngala, even down into the south. His territory is quite large, spans into some of the bordering reserve, so he's most likely patrolling around there. Hopefully he'll come back next couple days. But sometimes we don't see him. What, James, that time we saw him in the tree was the first time in about 3 weeks that we had seen him. So we go quite a while without seeing Tambori Tom. Generally we see one of the females or that young male Mokoti. But our search is going to continue. See not much happening here, but Ngala will provide. In the meantime, Trishala has found some birds.
I told you I'd find you guys some birds. And here we go. Some Guinea fowl. Oh, there's one more waiting for us. Hello. You are looking at a direct descendant of the dinosaurs right there.
Vernon, you copy, Vernon?
And when you look at them, you can see exactly. Oh, let's send you over to James quick. Oh. Sorry. That wasn't for me. But you're still with me, and we are looking at these guinea fowl. Now, they're really cool because they're actually omnivorous, which is an awesome adaptation for a bird, because it means that you don't have to have one food source. You're likely to be a better survivor That's kind of why we've survived so long as well. We are able to take advantage of both. Take advantage of different food sources. Tom, you say they look like mini emus? They really do. Mini flightless little things. Except they can fly. Where'd they go? There's more out there. Let's have a look again. So I say to you that they're direct descendants of the dinosaurs, and it's really interesting. Hello, Gabriel from Australia. Let us get you a good look at them as I answer your question. You're asking, why do they have spots on their feathers? Generally speaking, when it comes to birds and the way that their feathers look, it will either have to do, in the case of the Guinea fowl, I think that this is the reason, it'll break up their the way that they look in the grass, and obviously they're on the ground more often than not, so it'll break up their general look or general shape. Now, if they were one solid color, it would be very easy to spot them. So if they're a little bit mottled or spotted, then it's it's less easy to actually find them in the grass there, just like that. Of course, the blue head doesn't help with them being or trying to be inconspicuous. Oh, there we have a bit of a youngster. You can see he doesn't have the colorful head just yet. Very nice. Now, the dark color in feathers is produced by melanin, and melanin is actually not just a pigment to produce color, but also to be able to strengthen feathers. So it's important that most birds have melanin in their feathers as well. You can do it. There we go. Ooh. I'm going to get again from you, Kirst. Sorry, the sound of the Mahindra skidding over those bumps drowned you out. I would like to know if that was a guinea fowl family. It is. That's Sydney's dam all the way there. Let's see what's there. It is a little family of guinea fowl. And guinea fowl actually have quite a complex social system, and they're very well acquainted with each other, and they kind of socialize a lot. When they get up in the morning, they meet and greet each other, which I think is quite sweet, and also a bit of a comment on their intelligence, at least with social intelligence hypothesis, which basically states that the more social an animal has to be as a requirement, like most primates, hyenas, for example, that it actually is what propelled high intelligence. Gorgeous little things. Well, there were some wild dogs here at Sydney's dam yesterday, but no longer. Very cool. All right, well, I'll send you over to James driving while I continue to drive and look for some leopards.
We're going to go down into the valley of the great Mati riverbed and head down south, I think. We have left the den. The den is quiet. Everyone is sleeping there and settled. I don't know what we're going to find down here. Maybe some elephants, maybe a leopard, almost certainly not a lion. The lions that we had tracks of yesterday naturally absconded onto the reserve to the north of us yesterday evening after the drive completed. And so we start again on the lion front, and that's a different pride from the ones that we're calling down to the south. Electric wolf, in my case, an inordinately long time, and in some other people's cases, not very long at all. The thing is that when you do this job, you really got to try and never stop learning. And it might be that you have a speciality like hyenas, in which case you'll just learn about hyenas or spend a lot of time learning about them. You might have a speciality. My particular interest is in general biology, so I read a lot about things like evolutionary theory. I have a great interest in human behavior and the biology of human behavior, so that I kind of read about that. And so if you keep learning, you keep things fresh. And so it really does depend what you want to learn. And if you're going to become a birder or a butterfly expert, an expert in anything, it's going to take a long time. But I would say that if you are not particularly deficient about the brain and you are able to work hard and concentrate, I think in 3 months you can learn enough to take a game drive that is relatively interesting. I think you'd struggle to do this job that we are currently doing now if you had only 3 months of experience and no background in biology. So Trishala, for example, started doing the drives about 3 months after she got here, but she had a very strong background in biology, and so her ability to draw the systems together and that sort of thing was much greater than somebody coming in cold, who would take a bit longer to do that sort of thing. Same with Lauren. So, yeah, it's a very difficult question to answer. How long does it take to learn all the facts? In my case, I have to keep relearning them, because if you don't use them all the time, I find they slowly slip away from the memory. Jacob, my favorite authors, well, I have one at the moment who is my favorite, and that's a chap called Robert Sapolsky. He's a Stanford neuroscientist. I think he's brilliant, and he spent a lot of time in Kenya studying baboons there, and his writing on them I think is great. He's written 2 great books that I've really enjoyed. One of them called Behave, which is a massive tome of 800 pages, and when I got to page 800 I started on page 1 again. I've only ever done that with 2 books. And then Jared Diamond, I think, is a wonderful author on general biology. E.O. Wilson, also a bit of a doyen. So those are my favorite ones. And of course, yes, let's not forget that Jamie Patterson will immediately become my favorite author as soon as her book comes out. I think let's carry on down the riverbed here. No, let's not. Let's go straight. Maybe we shall bump an animal. Well, not bump it, see it. We don't actually want to bump into anything, do we? Least of all, an animal. Sometimes we bump into trees quite frequently. Keep an eye out on the ground. It looks like a wild dog track to me. Not a very new one. Let's go down this way. We're heading towards the south and east now. And you can see the bush is very thick in this area, and that's because we are almost in an oxbow, I suppose, of the Umalawamati. But as soon as you get down into these low-lying areas, the bush does really thicken up substantially. Take a bird at this stage. So that also depends on the animal. There are of questions I'm getting today that are probably getting unsatisfactory answers because they don't really have any definite answers. Some lions will take very little time. If a lion sees a vehicle for the first time, they're pretty nervous. 2 or 3 times later, they're probably much less nervous, and eventually they'll lie down in the shade next to the car. Wild dogs don't take long to habituate either. They tend to be pretty relaxed around people and vehicles, and they're sometimes even relaxed around us on foot, which is great. Leopards take a lot longer because they're much more secretive. They don't have the same confidence. Hyenas, a bit like lions, they are generally, especially when they're young, they quite enjoy being around people. When they're older, that curiosity and enjoyment of human presence dissipates, and they'll just keep their distance. Elephants, once you establish trust with an elephant, it's great, but it does depend on the individual elephant as to how easily trust is established, and on the general experience of the population. So, if you go to a place where they are being poached heavily, watch out. If you're in a place like the Sabi Sands where they have been left alone for a long time, you can have sightings like we've been having. And interestingly, I did an interview with a teacher from Michael House, which is a very famous school in the Midlands of South Africa. And he runs a conservation society at Michael House. And we did a little Zoom chat yesterday. And it was very interesting. And he said one of the questions that the boys had sent through a whole lot of questions beforehand. And one of them was, have I noticed any difference in animal behavior since the lockdown began? And I initially thought to myself, no. I mean, I don't think that I've noticed any major differences at all. And as he asked it, I thought to myself, you know what? I've had a lot of great elephant sightings here, but I'm not sure that I've had as many really good ones as I have in the last 2 weeks. And I wondered if it was, and this might be utter garbage, but I wondered if it wasn't the lack of vehicles, meaning that the elephants felt just less kind of harassed. Now, people don't harass elephants in this area generally. They are generally extremely well behaved around them. But maybe fewer vehicles, less human energy, less driving around, less sound, less noise, less flashing lights at night have just kind of settled them a bit. I don't know. I mean, they're very seldom irritated or irritable in this area, but I wondered if that didn't have something to do with it. Maybe, maybe not. I think also only having a single vehicle in an elephant sighting as opposed to 2 or 3 makes a difference, especially if you sit quietly for a long time. But I don't know for sure if that's true. Surely there must be some animals on this reserve somewhere. That's a nice one, Judy H. Thank you for that. I've also recently just read and then did a little interview with a great friend of mine called Alex van den Heever, who's wrote a book called Changing a Leopard's Spots. And I tell you what, I think it's a great book for everybody, but especially for any South African out there. It's about the remarkable relationship that he has developed over the years with a chap called Renius Mhlongo, one of the great trackers of the world. And there are all sorts of lovely anecdotes about wildlife and tracking and relationships with people of different cultures. It's a wonderful book. So you can check that out. Unfortunately not available overseas just yet. Right, I found some elephant dung. That's about as close as I've got to finding an animal, so let's go across to Trish and see if she's got something.
I too have found some elephant dung. I did have an elephant, but it promptly walked west from a distance. Unfortunately, we saw only an elephant butt moving further and further into the bushes. But I'm hopeful that we'll find more. The other thing that we're looking for is a very rare kind of antelope that is called a tree impala. They're generally lifeless, and they hang in the trees, generally accompanied by a leopard. That is the type that we would love to find. That being a kill, everyone. Bizkit, you'd like to know about that poor lion that was looking so unwell the other day? Well, she hasn't been found again, and obviously she's moved, which for me is a really good sign, I think. So she was identified as that Shimungwe lioness, one of two that tended to stray this way. And she obviously is able to move. When Michelle and Rex saw her, she could walk, and she did get up while we were there. So, even though something may look really dire, sometimes you never know. Things can spring back up just with one good meal. So I hope the best for her. Definitely haven't heard anything bad. Anyway, this here is a community spider web, or nest, rather, community nest spider's web. And I quite like them. Usually at this time when the sun's coming out, they all come out of their nests and sun themselves. But I don't see anyone out just yet. Quite spooky looking contraptions, don't you think? You should see when they emerge. It is really something out of a Halloween-themed movie. Very cool. One of very few species of spiders that are social. Generally, spiders are anything but, and prefer to eat each other. Kelly, you say wow? Wow, indeed. You can hear the black-crowned jaguar in the background. It's so lovely. It is wow, indeed. I quite like it. I don't know where I saw this or what cartoon it was in. It might have been part of the Addams Family when they went to get cotton candy and they got webs spun around a stick with spiders in it. Or maybe it was Scooby-Doo. I don't know. One of those. I was a fan of both. And that's what it reminds me of. Now, these critters are actually quite large, and you can get hundreds in a good-sized nest. And this is an average-sized nest. I'd say there's probably about 150 living in there. Copy. Okay. We're going to head towards quarantine and see if there's something special there, because there are some reports of possibly wild dogs heading in that direction. So let's go. Apologies to the community nest spider that had to have we had to pull away from the spiders. Oh, I can hardly hear myself. There you go. Can you hear me again? When I don't have my cap on, I feel naked. It's like, whoa, people can't see me like that. Anyway, let me send you driving now that I've got a mic.
We are now on the southeastern corner. I believe 2 wild dogs have just run past the dam cam. I am a long way from there, so I'm not going to try and rush there, because we have got a lot of vultures sitting on a tree here, which often indicates that something has expired in the near vicinity, most often because it's been killed by one of the predators we spend so very long searching for every single day. As yet, I have not managed to find anything that may have attracted the attention of those vultures, and I don't want to go too close to them because they will fly away. The other problem with vultures, there are wild dog tracks all over here. I wonder if the wild dogs didn't whack something in this vicinity. All over. Now people are saying there were no wild dogs, so I have no idea what's going on. There were definitely wild dogs over here. And they were going back that way. I wonder if they didn't kill something here this morning and then leave. We'll just go around the corner here and then I'll probably go out onto the eastern cut line. There's an impala there looking chilled to the max. We'll have a quick look at these vultures. The problem with a vulture is that A, it's got eyes second to none, and B, because it's got eyes on the side of its head, it doesn't need to turn its head and stare like a monkey would. So if you see a monkey alarm calling, you can see where it's looking. But if you find vultures, you can see that all of these guys have got their heads facing in entirely different directions. So 10 minutes ago, somehow, there were wild dogs running past the dam cam. I'm not sure how we managed to miss that, but there we are. And what I'm doing is just quickly searching through the clearings here to see if there isn't something. Or the trees. Perhaps there's a carcass sitting in a tree. Alright, I can't see anything. These vultures will fly, but they will settle again. I'm just going to carry on down here because I need to go down this road. I can't not go down this road. Josh, again, depends where you are, but a normal game drive is around about 3 hours or so. At Ngala, when we were driving out of the main camp, we often used to drive for 4 hours because it took a long time to get from the main camp down into the main game viewing area. At Londolozi, sometimes it would be 3 hours. It was about 3 hours mainly. There are more vultures down that way. You know, the hounds came up here. Alright, I'm going to sit and listen for 2 seconds, go down the road a little bit, turn around and follow the tracks. You're going to go back to Sean.
Very, very exciting things happening on Djuma. James first finding those tracks and then the dam cam pulling through with some wild dogs, so hopefully they can find them on that side. That's the nice thing about this whole setup, is you've got 2 reserves, so you've got lots of potential for things to happen. Lots of potential, which is very cool. Even, yeah, so we, on our driving around, managed to find tracks of 1 lioness, looking quite fresh, definitely from last night. Tracks were heading sort of down the road and then they cut off up, so we are doing a loop around. Now, my thought is that it could be that lioness that has the cubs, because that we still have not seen yet, but that lioness is in the correct area. Said it is by herself. There's only tracks of 1. So I think what she was doing was going to go look for some water. So the water holes close to where we believe the cubs to be are all dry. So she's had to go and find some other water. And we are going to head past some of the water holes, see if we can see any tracks of her coming up and down into that area and narrow down exactly where she is. Okay, so we've got a question from Caitlin, who's trying to figure out where we are. So let me show you a map here, Caitlin, to help you figure it out. So this is as we know, andBeyond Ngala. So we are currently there's another road, so we probably about here on the map. So almost right in the middle of andBeyond Ngala. We started off around here, that's where we were looking for the lions, then we drove along the river, down there, then we branched off, and we're now going to drive just south, just down from number 3 here, which is Opie Dam. We're going to drive just south of there, cut across back this way. So I think the tracks of the line we saw were on the road that comes around here, and then they cut up. So we're going to go have a look. There's a lot of little pan systems, little small water holes around here, Caitlin. So we're going to cut here back, sort of central east into Ngala. Is our plan. So yeah, right now we're pretty much in the heart of Ngala. I would call this the sort of central parts. And if we have to go left, we'll go out into the west to that big water hole, Alfred Dam, where you saw someone was out there. Birmingham Breakaway Pride was out in the west. If we go further up, we'll get towards where we saw the 3 leopards, the mother with the 2 cubs maybe 2 weeks ago. And then back behind us is where we saw, what have we seen there? We have seen the lions there, we have seen wild dogs there. So that's actually quite a good area. We'll probably head down that way this afternoon. There's been reports of a herd of buffaloes down in the south. So we might head down there, have a look, see if we can find some buffaloes. Maybe also some wild dogs. So that's the thing, in your time here, so Taj, he's 10 years old from Singapore. Taj, I have never personally caught a poacher, no. So if we hear anything, see any signs of poachers, any, tracks, things like that, we will call in the anti-poachers. So we leave the area, we being rangers, and guess we will leave because we don't want to you don't want to confront, poachers when you have guests and things like that. So I have personally, Taj, never seen a poacher, so I've never had to do anything. In that situation with the guests, you're obviously going to take their safety into account first, and we would leave the area and report it straight away, and then there would just be anti-poachers everywhere. Helicopters, dogs, everybody would just come in. They're very, very, very good. Their response times and things like that have been very good. So luckily, we don't have too many poachers. None that I've ever seen. A lot of the poaching does happen at night as well. And we're not around at night. We're obviously back in the lodge. So you miss a lot of that. Which is fine. I don't think I want to encounter a poacher. That situation could go one of 2 ways. And you don't want to risk it. Okay, but it sounds like Tishala has got quite close to the area with the wild dogs that they saw. So we send you back that side. See if you guys can give her a hand.
I also hope so. So I'm actually on quarantine now, and we know from the behavior that we witnessed with them is that they quite like quarantine. And there are not very many of them, just a couple that was seen. Probably part of the sands pack that we had the other day. Okay, I'm gonna go around quarantine. Now, this was actually a couple minutes ago, so it was about 10 minutes ago. Not probably over 15 minutes ago now. And they move so quickly. So I'm gonna do a quick patrol of quarantine. We have a suicidal squirrel. And then maybe just go via tele-access again. I don't think they would be down just yet. It's still pretty chilly. When I mean down, I mean I don't think they would have sat down or lied down really for the day just yet. Okay, let's go to the end. See down the road. Whoops. Are you still on, Owen? No, he's not. I've lost Owen, everyone. That's why he's quiet. There's nothing like wild dogs to bring out your best driving, in my opinion. Okay, I don't see anything. Okay, so some of you are wondering why this area is called quarantine. It's called Quarantine Clearings, is its full name. And at one point, as you can see, it is a bit of a clearing. It's not so much thicket as the rest of the reserve tends to be. So it's a bit of a clearing. It's on the crest. So you get lots of marulas. It's not very wet, and you get this grass. So it's called, that's why it's a clearing. And it's called quarantine because once upon a time it was used as a quarantine area for cattle. When I say once upon a time, I mean a really long time ago. Really, really long time ago. All of these areas were not reserves, say 60 years ago, 80 years ago. And in fact, they were people's homes and areas where they would live. In fact, a lot of the guides that have been here for a long time, like the people who take us out in bushwalk and stuff like that, they've lived in these areas. They were born in these areas, in areas that are now lodges, were actually their birthplaces. So during that time and just after that time, that particular area was called, or used to be used as a quarantine facility. I think it might have even been during the Rinderpest outbreak that they used that area, but I'm not sure. There's actually ruins of an old homestead on quarantine as well. Okay, I'm gonna go around and up past the dam cam. I think that would be the best. Do you see something, Owen? Oh. I love dwarf mongoose, everyone. But if there are dogs around, time is a key factor. Kirst has such faith in me. She says, while you find the wild dogs, not while you try to. While I find the wild dogs, I'll send you over to James.
It's very exciting. Well done, Trishala. We're on the tracks now of the rest of the pack, going a long way north up our eastern boundary. They're still on the ground. I'm assuming it's the rest of that pack. Could be an entirely different pack. But they're still on the ground. Are they? Yes, they are. I would stop and show you, but you know how fast these things move, that if I'm not moving, they're almost certainly getting away. They've probably gone to ground now. The question is, where? Where did they do that? And I'm hoping that it's close-ish by. So there are two theories around the presence of those vultures. One theory is that they were hanging around the dogs killed something, the vultures came in, and that's where they're just sitting until it gets hot and they can fly off. The other theory is that there's other meat there. Maybe a leopard's killed something. It's possible. But that will reveal itself this afternoon if there is perhaps a kill there, then the vultures will remain there for the afternoon. In fact, we'll drive past there on our way home this morning and just check if they're still around, because they'll start to fly around about now. This track's still going straight north. Drying, again, another answer that's going to not satisfy. It depends on how much the vulture does eat. You know, if it eats, gets to a carcass and eats 250 to 500 grams of meat, I think you'll find that'll stand it in good stead for quite a few days. If it doesn't, if it just gets a scrap or two, then it's going to have to eat again fairly soon. I'm not sure the exact mass. The dogs are on top of the elephant tracks. That's good news, but they are now pretty much at the northern boundary, and I have a horrible suspicion they've gone north into the reserve north of us. Yeah, they're still on the road here. Yes, Emily, we have had domestic dogs in the park. The standout story on that one is when a chap called Brent, who used to work with us for a long time, was following a young leopard male, and he found the young leopard male in the tree with what he thought was a steenbok, and in fact turned out to be a domestic dog. Now, the dogs turned around and did a bit of up and downing here, upping and downing. The downing ones seem a bit fresher than the upping ones. And then, obviously, we chased him off the dog carcass. The dog was, in fact, pretending to be dead. It leapt up and jumped out of the tree and ran away. And dogs that come into the reserves have to be destroyed because they carry horrible diseases with them a lot of the time. And that dog was destroyed and was found to be carrying rabies. And so the leopard had to go into quarantine in case he got rabies. And he survived the quarantine period. He was re-released back into the reserve. We saw him 3 or 4 times, and then he disappeared. Don't know where he went. Okay, the tracks do go down kind of in this direction. I'm going to go around the top, though, because they still seem to be heading kind of northish. And that road is just dreadful. And then, I mean, you fairly regularly you'll find a dog coming onto the reserve, and you just have no option, I'm afraid, but to take it out, because if it escapes and starts living in the reserve, and you cannot risk an outbreak of distemper or rabies. Yeah, they've turned around here and they've gone back down there. Oh dear, where's they gone now? All over here they were running. Almost impossible to check which ones are the freshest. They are going north. You know, there's nothing we can do if they have gone north, so I think we'll carry on down here and see if the ones that were heading down there are these ones or perhaps others. Alright, we're going to go around to Buffelshoek Dam, which is the dam in the northeast corner. Let's go to Trish and see how her search is going.
Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now? Yay, there we go. Hello, I am back here. I was saying that I've been going around in circles, but we did see an impala that was staring out into this block. But now we just saw some more impala and they were looking fairly relaxed. So I'm gonna go Ingwe Alley. Hello, wildebeest. What have you seen today? Anything interesting? Some dogs, maybe. No. A whole lot of impala. Now that's not helpful because it means that they have not sensed a predator around. But they are all down here. You know what? I'm gonna go Rebecca's. Just check that out because they've all moved fairly south from quarantine. How cute is that? Jade, you're 10 years old and you're from Johannesburg. Oh, someone's suckling. You'd like to know if the leader of the wild dogs are always female? No, they have an alpha pair. So they have a leader that's a male and a female, and it's a pair of them. Oh no, Mum's not letting you. Very cute. Yeah, you are getting. Well, that was interesting. That looks like they were having a bit of fun. Unless they went to check up on quarantine and came running straight back down because they saw dogs. Let's go check back up onto quarantine, just in case. But it looked like they were having a bit of fun. There was one adult and the rest were youngsters. And they just... Hello! It's always important to greet the fauna. After this, I'm gonna go to then check Rebecca's. I think those wildebeests are just having a bit of fun. Either way, we're gonna go check it out. I really hope we'll find some dogs. Anyway, Sean at andBeyond's Ngala is doing something or the other. I suspect he's driving around much like us. Let's go see.
So you guys have joined us at quite a crucial time in our game drive. Me and Marcel are having existential conversations. We are discussing our lives. See, the animals are hiding from us. They're playing very hard to get. We are just enjoying nature and looking at what seems to be dry grass and talking about our lives. We are we are both very happy with our lives and the fact that we get to be out here with nature. You know, it's not always about the animals, you know. Sometimes it's just about being out here in the fresh air, the quiet, hearing the birds, looking at the trees. And at least Djuma is keeping you all entertained with their wild dog search. And I'm sure we're going to be seeing lots of cool stuff. But this is how it goes. This is how it goes. You get your good days and you get your hard days. But this is not a bad place to have a hard day. Especially in the river. You don't have to drive. You just sit there. The car does it all. You can look for animals. Look for leopards in the trees. So this is close to where they had the Ngala female with her youngster and that carcass that Nikki showed you. It's just further up here on our right hand side. Yeah. The river, the driving look very easy. You don't have to drive. Yeah, you don't really have to do much. Especially if you're going fast, then you have to drive, because otherwise you're going out of the track. And look at that, hey? While I've been distracting you with my insightful conversation, James has managed to find the wild dogs, so go and enjoy that.
They've arrived here at the waterhole at Buffelshoek Dam, and it's going to be tricky to get closer to them, but we can do it. They're calling. I just want to see if they settle there. They might, you know. Let's go round straight away. Let's not wait. Get a little bit closer. They're still mucking around. Oof, I can smell them here.
They've been on the dam wall here. I think they're going to settle in the shade around there, I'm hoping. You know, I've done a heck of a lot of tracking in the last little while and very little finding. So although this was relatively fortuitous, it is very satisfying. Let's see if I can just get into a position here where we can see these things. Get muck out the way. But just down here, I'm not sure how good our signal's going to be. Yeah, I've got comms, thanks. I'm not going to address a complicated comment like that right now. Just want to get around and see if we can get a view first. Not sure if we're going to maintain, but we'll go. Back.
Sorry guys, we've just lost James briefly, but he will be back with us. Now I'm speeding along to get to the south. Now remember yesterday, those dogs, the sands pack that were on Chitwa, were in the south, and they kept on moving further south. I wonder if the couple that we have now, that I haven't seen yet, but you guys did, came in and maybe we'll join back there. Whatever it is, I'm going to find out, because we suspect that the pack that's up in the north with James is different. So I'm going to check out Rebecca's and then head down to the southern boundary again. See what we can find there. I just have a feeling. It's so difficult with them because they could be anywhere doing anything and moving at any pace. They're so light and agile. They have the build of long-distance runners. Really well-developed nasal passages. High-endurance animals. And they can just go and go and go and go. So a couple minutes behind them, you may just miss them. Ah, yes, of course. Everyone's saying it's been awesome to have such a wild dog streak lately. Hasn't it just? We've been so spoiled. Never in my life have I been this spoiled with dogs. Let's just listen here for a moment. Don't hear anything. All right, James is back. Let's send you over to him and those dogs.
Right, so we've got them now around the other side. I think they are going to settle the situation as yesterday, with the youngsters mucking around here, and the youngsters settled. I'm just going to call at least the youngsters running around. I'm just going to call this in. One, two, three, 4, 5, 6, 7 odd. They are moving. Stations as pack is at Bivelshoek Dam. It's now, it looks like it's going to start heading north from the central part of the dam. Okay, let's move. We're going to have to move quickly. Oh, obviously the elephants have really conspired to make life difficult for us. I wish we could do this on foot, I must say, or on a two-wheel vehicle. Much easier on a two-wheeler. They're just all through here. They are coming down through this way. think what time they really properly settled yesterday, and I think it was around about now. I think this is the same pack as we had yesterday. They're more than 7. The comment from James Richard was that maybe that pack of 7 was the ones going north into Buffelshoek. James, I think it was these guys, and I think they came back. You said the 7 were probably of the Mbali Investec breakaways, and I'm not disputing that for 1 second. I think they probably didn't come down south though. They probably just went north from Sydney's. They're still calling each other. I'll just drift slowly forward. Dave a better view. Yep. Oh, sorry, Claudia. We're on a game drive radio, and that means that we share sightings with other people. And I had called in the guys in the reserve north of us. I told them that we had tracks of this pack and that they had gone north and they should keep an eye out. And so now I've just told them that I've found them here. So they can come and look if they want to. Otherwise, they know not to look where they are. James confirming that this is the Sands pack, and he can see the Ngala male, the one from the Ngala pack. They're still calling, you know, and there's quite a few of them wandering around here. They're also smelling quite profound. Moving through grass so thick. The others are behind, I think. There's still some others behind us. Let's just ooze forward a bit. Yeah, they're running up through here now. I'm going to go out onto the cut line because to try and follow them through the block there. Oh, here comes one now back this way. See, they're looking for each other. What you have to do when you're following these dogs is be very careful of starting the engine too much, revving too much, because this is how they find each other. They find each other with their ears. And if we're making a loud noise all around them, it becomes difficult for them. James Richards saying that we were looking at the alpha female there. Not now, just back there, one of the ones that went north. So he's unfortunately going the wrong way. He'll probably cross their scent now. Just going to move a bit and go out onto the cut line. The cut line is a boundary between two reserves, and often there's a fire break there which is a bit clearer of bush. Yeah, he's following us out now as well. Oh, sorry, there we go. Running back in. I'm just gonna... It's so difficult to know what to do. We'll just pop our heads out here. I think they're all going to go back there and settle. They like to settle quite near the water. Yeah, we'll just turn around here. Yeah, that's right, Vic. It's the pack with the injured eye. Or the one with the injured eye. They don't all have injured eyes. I think somebody's got the rest of the pack on the road there. Sorry, confirm you've got some of the pack there on the road? Okay, copy. I'm going to come out there. There's a few individuals near the dam here, but it's so thick it's impossible. So there are a couple out on the road there. Let's go there, because seeing them in here is difficult, and B, we're making a noise. We're making it difficult for them to find each other. Try and not smack anything.
I'm just going to go into Djuma.
Okay, they've gone back in here now, naturally. Alright, while we try and figure out what's going on here, let's go back to Trish and see if she's had any more luck with hers.
I have not had any luck, but I did hear that somebody called in 2 wild dogs on Buffalo Cutline as well. So I wonder if the ones that I was following up on actually did go up to meet the rest of the pack, but I'm sure we'll know soon, because James is with them. And instead, I'm going to head towards the southern boundary again and see if there's anything of interest. I suspect strongly that those wild dogs have moved in that direction. They move so quickly and can change directions so fast that you are not guaranteed, just because you see them going in one direction, that that is the direction they will stay in. Also, because they don't have territories, you can't rely on particular lines like you would for the leopard. Let's go past the dam. Maybe we'll be lucky with some elephants. Let's see if we can find some lovely Ellie's playing a treehouse dam. Wouldn't that be wonderful? Make me feel better for not being able to find you very much today. Well, at least James has managed to find the dogs, and we have had a cool drive, I think. Well, if you've enjoyed this drive, and any of our other drives, in fact, if you enjoy just being able to come out with us and be part of nature and see the nitty-gritty with us, please go to our support page and you'll see the details of Vultures at the bottom of your screen, and help us to continue to be able to bring you this live and interactive safari. I certainly love being able to do it, and all the guides do as well. I really don't know, but I'm sure the animals also enjoy being able to be seen by you all. And also remember the benefits to conservation just through education. Starkaj, did I get that correct? You'd like to know if the new moon affects the behavior of animals? The new moon can actually be great for hunting, because it means it's slightly darker. In fact, isn't it new moon today, or was it yesterday? It can be darker, so animals can have a better go at hunting, that being the predators. We're here at Treehouse Dam now. I read a very interesting article about how the moon affects humans, and quite a few myths associated with it, such as moods, sleep, etc. What we have noticed, though, is that humans have 20 minutes less sleep during a full moon, and it takes 5 minutes longer for them to actually fall asleep. But that has more to do with the production of melatonin and light, etc., than it does with the moon pulling your internal tide, or anything kind of like that. Can't remember what else I learnt about the moon. But it's always Always super cool. Also, the moon, believe it or not, gets a slightly negative charge when it's full. Who knew? But that does nothing for your body, believe it or not. Anyway, there's not much happening at Treehouse Dam, so I'm going to keep on going. The moon moves between the tail of the ionizing radiation that comes off the Earth. That makes it a little bit negative. Anyway, enough negativity. Off to positivity. I'll send you over to James and the wild dogs.
We've got them again, but I'm pretty sure they're going to cross north now. They're calling. Let's move quickly. That's going to be, I think, the last of it. We're going north into the reserve north of us. Maybe they'll settle, but I have said that now 8 times and they haven't looked like settling. There we go, there's a bit of playing going on there, we'll get. Any luck? Oh, bump, bump, smash, crash, bash, boom. You just pull over here. Sorry guys, I'm going to have to move. I'm blocking someone else's view here, which is no good. Let me try and get the side of them. Anywhere on the road is going to be hopeless. More coming this way. Here come the rest. A whole lot more of them. I think there are a lot more than 14 here. Let me try and go around there, Darv.
Make your way back to the main road.
There we
Yeah,
go.
I'm coming back that way. Thanks, friend.
That's it. Now stay. Stay. Sit. Stay. Stay. Good dogs. Very good. Ugh. Where's Barbara Woodhouse when you need her? I have got a question from somebody whose name is coming across as Who Farted? Who farted? I think that the presence of wild dogs on Djuma... Hoof farted. Oh, hoof-hearted. So not who farted. You have to excuse me for that. Really, anyone could have made that mistake. So, hoof-hearted, and has probably called himself that precisely so that a mistake would be made. Who farted? The I think that's a really good theory that there are so many dogs around currently because there isn't a lion within 100 miles of Djuma. I mean, obviously there is, but I think the lack of lion activity here certainly does play a part. Wild dogs definitely don't like to be around lions. No other predator likes to be around lions, except massive clans of Mara hyenas who don't really care. Phew! Alright, I'm going to move again so that we can get a view of them on the road because they're a bit more in the shade there. At least they're a bit more in the open. These guys look like a carpet of sleeping carpets. I was trying to imagine the delight on Hoof-Hearted's face when he realized that, or she realized that Hoof-Hearted could be Hoof-Hearted as well, and then giggling as he or she imagined me or any one of the other guys trying to say it. Yes, hopefully that isn't the name that your parents gave you. This is my son, Hoof-Hearted. Hoof-Hearted. Oh, Hoof-Hearted. Yes. What did you think I said? No, that's what I understood. That's what I thought you said, yeah. Oh, there's an impala alarm calling, which is causing some interest. All the viewers are laughing at you, Hoof-Hearted. They find you most amusing. Pippa, you say that's a naughty name. I agree, Pippa. It's scandalous, in fact. I mean, how can you call yourself Hoof-Hearted? Hoof-Hearted replied, saying that Hoof-Hearted was a racehorse. You mean Hoof-Hearted or Hoof-Hearted was a racehorse? And coming down the back straight we have Aldaniti being led by Phineas Fogg, and closing in is Hoof-Hearted. Hoof-Hearted now closing in on the leaders. Hoof-Hearted just 2 lengths off the leaders. Hoof-Hearted coming up now strong, coming up on the outside. Hoof-Hearted to the line. Hoof-Hearted against Aldaniti. Hoof-Hearted wins the national. I do feel very sorry for the racing announcer who had to keep a straight face while announcing Hoof-Hearted's victory in the Triple Crown. The wild dogs couldn't care less, however. They are not vaguely worried about the racehorse named after gas or the shape of his foot or his heart. Hoof-Hearted. And it's Hoof-Hearted at 10-1 who takes the ass. It's very unkind. I bet trainers and owners didn't think that Hoof-Hearted would ever win a race, and so they named him that, just so that they could listen to the announcer. Is this our injured fellow? A grizzled male, that. I think he was in the group that we had the other day. Was he not part of the group of 4? Now, one of them's picked up a stick. Like Dewey the hippo, he's dropped it. Sorry. Hoof-Hearted is now saying, "Sorry, James, please don't say sorry for 1 second. It's just too wonderful. And I do apologize. I hope I haven't. Please do get hold of us every single drive. You've provided immeasurable joy to us. And I hope I haven't insulted you. I certainly didn't mean to. I was just enjoying bit of banter, as they call it. All right, now I know the wild dogs have been a highlight, but let's face it, they could never compare with the highlight that is going to be Marcel's Facts of the Day.
Exactly, James. The dogs have been a highlight, but everyone's real reason for waking up for this morning's game drive is Marcel's fun fact.
Thanks, Sean. So, Cherenkov radiation is a specific type of radiation that happens when a charged particle, either a proton or an electron, moves through a dielectric medium such as water or glass at a speed or velocity faster than the phase velocity of light in that medium. So, let's say water or light moves at 300,000 kilometers in a vacuum, but at 99% of that through water. Then if the electron moves at 99.5% of the vacuum speed of light through the water, then you'll get Cherenkov radiation, and it's got a very characteristic blue glow and also a slight crackling sound. So it's quite common with underwater nuclear reactors, and also sometimes with gamma ray bursts in space passing through your eyes, you do see flashes of light.
All I understood there was when he said something underwater. It's the only part of that I understood. But very interesting. He did tell me it was going to be about radiation. FC say all they understood was eyes. So I'm glad I'm not the only one, but very interesting. Marcel's facts are quite fascinating. And that has been the highlight of my morning. I didn't unfortunately get to see the wild dogs that you saw, but I heard they were very cool, especially one with that injured eye. And it was I heard James was making fun of some people, which is not very nice, James, but it was quite funny. Quite funny. But now our search continues. I got an update from the people following the tracks of the Light Pride. Apparently they did split up a little bit. Some went further north, some cut further west. But it seems like they went to drink at a little water hole, small little puddle, and then they deviated. They split up, so we'll have a look this afternoon. But while we continue, James still has the wild dogs.
We stopped 3 of them. The rest have sort of ambled across the road onto the Djuma side, where they are having a snooze. I think this is a very sweet little scene, isn't it? It says it all about them. Brian, we don't keep all the footage, no, but if there's a nice sighting or some actions happening, David will push record, and then he'll go and log it later on in camp, and it can then be, it sits in an archive which is sold. We do sell some of the archive. Sometimes we use it for highlights, clips. We use it for various things. And the drives themselves are saved by the very kind people at YouTube, who are doing it purely for their own, at least for our benefit, obviously. They save it for us because, you know, it's on our channel, so you can find drives for years on the channel. It beggars belief to think about how much storage they must have to maintain all the videos they do on the internet. Certainly more than a couple of hard drives that you'd plug in with a USB port. Great buildings filled with ones and zeros that somehow translate into the images that you're seeing now. Isn't that amazing to you? Blows my mind. All right, we're now going to have apparently an exceptional fact of the day from ex-Ranger, who is in Tasmania. Go. I going to get in trouble for saying this name? Am I not getting this? All right, I'm going to give it to you under the understanding that if it's rude, I don't get it. X-Ranger says that there was a horse born in New Zealand called Richard Cranium that wasn't allowed to race in Australia because of its name. X-Ranger, I'm sorry, I think my brain's too slow to get it. Maybe you'll explain it to us. There are probably a whole lot of people guffawing with laughter right now, and others covering their mouths in horror at what I've just said. But I promise it was unintentional, because I have no idea what I've just said. Richard Cranium. Oh, I've got it. Thank you. Yes. I'm not going to say it, but sorry, it was very slow of me. So you can shorten Richard, and obviously you know what the shortening of Richard is, and then of course a cranium is another word for a head. Can't believe it took me that long. That's wonderful. Thank you. Thank you, X-Ranger. The horse. I'm astounded that a horse called Richard Cranium was not allowed to race in Australia. I would have thought that that was kind of every 10th horse was named something like that. Very good. Very good. Ah, Mr. Cranium, is it your son? Yes, it is. What's his name? This is my son, Richard. You called your son Richard, and your surname is Cranium? Yes. Is there something wrong with that? Oh, no, not at all. Let's go across to Trishala.
Hello, everyone. Can you give it to me, Owen? I'll pop it on the dash. Little Spidey. No. Come this way. No. Okay, well, there it goes. Maybe it'll go onto the bonnet. I think I see him. Hello, friend. Okay, back you come. Right, yeah. Isn't that just cute? Looks like a little box spider. Built its web across the... Oop, there you go. It's got very cute little red pedipalps. I can't say I've seen that before. If you know what that is, please let me know. Oh, you're back. You are very fast. And off you go. Very sweet.
Hey, there he is.
Yay! See what I mean? There's those red sections at the end. Can't actually see if those are the pedipalps that are red like that. Now I'm hoping that it will maybe balloon for us. Is what they often do.
Let's turn around, coming back.
Okay, let's see. So it'll put its abdomen, and as you can see, there's a string of silk behind it. So what will happen when they balloon? So I'm saying that it might balloon because it doesn't have a web currently. It's just lost it due to our camera. Rebecca, you say, no, this is not cute. Don't worry, Rebecca. With all the spiders that I love, I'll fix you. It is mighty cute. I need to show you, Rebecca, a a jumping spider, and then you will see cute beyond words. So what they'll do is they'll put their abdomen up into the air, and they'll put a little bit of web out and then wait for the slight breeze to catch it, and then it'll attach itself to that line, and wherever that line lands, it'll kind of use it like a foofy slide. What do you call it? Like a flying fox. Yeah, just like Spider-Man. So it's actually the underside of the legs that have that orange color, or where the legs attach to the body. Awesome, you're having a fun time on my dash. Very nice. Well, I'm staying here. Oh, I am on this fire break because we saw a herd of elephants. And they were walking this direction, but they were thick in the block. So I was hoping that they would come out. And now this wonderful spider has given me something to show you while we wait. That being said, I don't hear the elephants. I'm hoping... Oh, there we go. Can you see the abdomen in the air? Abdomen in the air. Are you going to catch something? Are you going to catch the breeze? That's very cool. There you get that little bit of silk blowing out. There's a breeze. You'll also need the silk to hook onto something else so it can climb onto it. No, that didn't work for you? Okay. Eat it all up. Let's try again. Oh, it made it. It made a line. It is. It is extreme abseiling. I don't know where you've gone. But there you go, the line. That thing was moving very, very fast, though, as you saw. So it's somewhere along that line. And that is so cool, because you think, how on earth is it going to get away? And there it's just shown you how. Ooh. Okay. Well, that was lovely. It's always nice to see how spiders do that. You could see very clearly when it picked its abdomen up, trying to expose its spinnerets to the breeze. Okay, now elephants, won't you come out? So that we can say hi? Or at least I hope they will. Anyway, let me send you over James and his sleepy dogs while we find these ellies.
Yeah, they're very sleepy. They're not doing much. Lovely, a message coming in from Tony Two Toes, who says in New South Wales there was a governor once whose name was Richard Face, and he says quite rightly that obviously his parents hated him from birth. That is a really horrendous thing to do to your child. All right, enough of this silliness. Now, I'm currently, as we speak right now, reading an article on the National Geographic, which is generally a pretty good source of interesting information. Some of it can be garbage, but I don't think this one is. In fact, very little of it's garbage, so I'm going to believe what I'm reading here. There's a quite interesting study they've just done on domestic dogs, and I know we get asked a lot about the relationship of these dogs to domestic dogs and whether these dogs would be domesticatable or not. And domestic dogs are obviously hypersocial, much more so than wolves raised in similar situations, and I'm imagining much more so than wild dogs, probably even more so than wild dogs raised in domestic situations. But they carry very social dogs, hugely hypersocial dogs, carry a genetic variant. I'll give you the name simply because I have it in front of me. GTF2I, which is not so bad, but GTF2IRD1. They carry variants of those genes that make them very hypersocial, and I suspect that over the course of selective breeding of wolves,
10 or 15,000 years ago when we domesticated them to make our domestic dogs. It's those wolves that carried the hypersocial genetic variants of those genes that were the ones that were selectively bred. And that's how we got our dogs. Interesting. Oh, cat 3, the small blue flower behind the dogs is Commelina, one of the Commelina species. Isn't it pretty? It's very pretty. And there are a number of different Commelina species that we get here. Strange, interesting honey-coloured light right now. Not the kind of golden light, but it's quite nice honey, I think. I find sometimes you take photographs in the golden hour, just after dawn and just prior to dusk, and you look at them and you think, that looks like syrup, if you know what I mean. It's too sweet, it's too gold. And that was a much more subtle light. There's a much more subtle light coming out now if you look at them. So, nice, interesting bit of research being done there. Yeah, almost certainly, Judy, in Singapore, the white tail is almost certainly useful when they're hunting. More and more, when I watch these things, I realize that and on reading about their hunting strategies, their hunting is bombshell random strategy. Anyone who sees something gives chase and runs after it. And there's no way for them to be able to see where they're going through bush like this unless there are signals, and that white tail is a nice signal. They also have to be able to hear each other. And that's what those big ears are for, and obviously they smell like something else, and so their noses must help them to track each other when they're hunting. So I think the white-tail is just part of that. I've only ever seen 2 dogs with black-tail tips. I had a lovely pack at Ngala once that denned there. Oh, and if we ever had a wild dog den on this program, your heart would melt 1,000 times. But the alpha male in that pack had a black-tail. Very satisfying to have found these fellows. Whether they will be here this afternoon or not, I don't know. I think it's probably unlikely that they'll be exactly here, but they may head down towards the waterhole, which would be great. Well, GT, in my case, forever. In the case of someone like James Richard, about 10 seconds. I really think that there is, you know how some people can recognize faces and remember people forever and ever, and some people forget other people or meet 5 seconds after meeting them. I think some people are good at recognizing them and some aren't, so I don't know how long it takes. If they've got really obvious features, then that'll probably stick in the mind. But if I look at that dog there, I can try and imprint in my brain the fact that it's got a broad black blaze, a big black eye patch on its right-hand side. It's kind of a honey-coloured rather than rich brown texture on the face. But I promise you, in 5 seconds I'll have forgotten. But some people will just remember that. Some people would also remember the patterning on the legs. It's just a case of, for most of us, looking at photographs again and again and then seeing the dogs regularly. And I suspect, and James Richard can correct me here if I'm wrong. I suspect he has a repository of photos that he studies relatively frequently, and that's how he knows so well. Oh, you're all saying you'd love to see wild dog puppies. It will destroy you. They are, I mean, they're right up there with lion and leopard cubs. If, you know, all three of them pretty much on a cuteness par. But there's so many of them, often, and so they run around and jump and play. I'm going to put hyena cubs a rung slightly below them, but really not very much, and obviously everyone will have their own favorites. The thing about the dogs is that they're so active as soon as they come out of the den. And I think there's something so familiar about them because they look like domestic dog puppies. There's one just having a bit of a scratch here. Hello, E.T. No, I'll probably go and have breakfast after drive. We probably won't stay with them. I don't think they're going to do much. So, no, I don't think we'll stay with them for much longer than after the end of drive. We'll certainly come out here this afternoon and see what's going on with them. Someone will. But as they go to sleep, so my tummy starts to grumble. All right, everyone, that's going to be it for the morning drive. A magnificent, magnificent time with these dogs at the end and the hyenas this morning, so what a joy. Thank you for your questions and comments, for the great hilarity you provided for me. We'll see you this afternoon. Bye-bye.